Okay, quick poll. Do any of these travel questions resonate with you? Are you the friend who always plans everyone's vacation? Do you love a good color-coded itinerary or spreadsheet? Do you book restaurant reservations months in advance of your trip? And do you always seem to know about that beautiful boutique hotel that nobody else has heard of? If that sounds like you, and honestly kind of sounds like me, then Fora was built for you. Fora is a modern travel agency for people who love to plan travel and help others travel well. Yes, that's right, you too could be a travel advisor because they offer a platform, training, and a global community to give you everything you need to turn that obsession with travel into a real flexible stream of income. Become a Fora advisor today at foratravel.com/unpacked. That's FORA travel.com/unpacked. And make sure you tell them we sent you. foratravel.com/unpacked. Imagine this. It's August. I'm cycling down Highway 101 along the Oregon coast with two friends. It's a sunny, perfect day, and the Pacific is on our right doing its ocean thing, glinting in the sun, waves crashing. Even better, we have a fourth person with us who is acting as our support queen. So while we pedal, she drives an electric Rivian truck towing an Airstream trailer so that every afternoon, as we cyclists roll into camp all tired and sweaty and, buzzy with the energy of the day, she's already set up camp. Dinner is ready. The Airstream is level. Our sleeping bags are waiting for us. So all we have to do is shower, grab a beer, and watch the sunset over the Pacific. Well, that was the plan. Alright, we're doing another one.
What the f*** are we doing?
That was stressful.
I'm really scared.
Maybe stop.
Oh, Jeannie, are you really crying?
What you just heard is a slice of the trip that we actually took. Because for 8 days in August, my wife Jeannie and I towed a 20-foot Airstream down the Oregon coast using a Rivian truck with exactly 0 experience towing anything ever. We laughed, we cried, we swore, and yes, we bickered. But the trip taught us a lot, including 2 really big things. The first is that an electric truck can absolutely tow a 5,000-pound Airstream down the Oregon coast and do it well. The second is that the RV community is really just that, a community. Even now, I get teary-eyed thinking about how many people helped us along the way. I'm Aislyn Greene, and this is Unpacked, and this episode is really devoted to those people, the strangers who taught us to park an RV, who offered us tools and advice, and who around a campfire shared a drink and their own stories of learning and failing on the road. The idea started as, any travel idea does between friends. It was a simple dream. We wanted to cycle down the Oregon coast with our friends, Chris and Betsy. So Betsy had done the trip twice before and wanted to get in a third run. Jeannie and I, we love to cycle, but the idea of planning a big trek like that and hauling our gear was a little overwhelming. So we combined all of our knowledge and experience and mapped out a big adventure. Jeannie, Betsy, and I would cycle south from Astoria at the northwest corner of Oregon all the way down to Brookings, which is near the California border. And Chris, who has a commercial driver's license, would tow an RV and act as a one-woman pit crew. As an additional layer, because why not, we wanted to make it fully sustainable. So enter our storm blue Rivian R1T. We chose Rivian because it's a California-based company and I'm based in California. Plus, they had just expanded their Adventure Network, which is a fast charging network that's built specifically for the kind of places EVs weren't supposed to go. And many of those charging stations just happen to be along the Oregon coast. They even have trailer-friendly pull-through charging stations, so that's a bonus. Plus, Airstream had a new electric model out, a partnership with REI, which resulted in the Basecamp 20XE. It's essentially the Airstream that makes it even easier to go far off the grid. So we figured, why not pair 2 of the most iconic American adventure brands out there and create one epic summer trip. Jeannie and I left our home in Sausalito on August 14th. We pointed the Rivian north on Highway 101 with our bikes strapped to our brand new bike rack and headed to Eureka for our first night. The plan was to slow charge overnight at our Airbnb, but we knew we would need to stop once for a little battery juice along the way.
We are in the middle of dark forest right now. Boy.
Our first charging stop was actually the result of us ignoring what the Rivian suggested that we do. It was a small Electrify America station in a very dark middle of nowhere with one hookup that did not work. And at the time, it felt a little scary. I jokingly called it the murder stop because, remote location, dark forest, we're the only ones around for miles. 24 hours later, though, it would feel like a blip of a problem. The next day, as we were driving toward Eugene, where we were going to meet Chris and Betsy and pick up our Airstream, we got a phone call. Betsy shared that Chris's brother had died suddenly and unexpectedly in the middle of the night, and they had to fly to Chicago. You can probably imagine we were so shocked and devastated, and our hearts just broke into 1,000 pieces for her. And of course, we just said, go, do what you need to do, we'll figure it out. And we knew we would. We didn't want her to worry. We just wanted her to go and be with her family and not even think for another moment about this whole trip. And we were faced with a decision, because that meant that the one person on the trip who actually knew how to tow was gone. Jeannie and I were now the ones picking up the Airstream. And, to be honest, we did think about canceling, but we'd spent so much time planning this, and we decided, I think in the end, to keep going for one main reason. Chris and Betsy thought that maybe there would be some way that they could join us at the very end of the trip, and we wanted to hold that space for them. Plus, and yes, let's all groan together, we thought, how hard could it really be?
And basically, from here, Jeannie, you're just going straight, and you're going to get straight on the highway. And once you're on the highway, I think it's actually going to feel easier than it feels right now. Jeannie, are you really crying? Okay, you need to stop and let me drive.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm okay. It's just working to it.
I'm sorry, but this is, you're sobbing, right? Jeannie, okay, I need you to stop. Not stop crying, but I need you to stop so I can take over.
No, I'm gonna do it.
Okay, but I'm okay.
We were 5 minutes into our 500-mile journey. We just left Sutton RV in Eugene and now had a 5,000-pound Airstream bumping and swaying behind us. I had driven us off the lot and pretty much promptly freaked out, so Jeannie took over. But clearly she was also freaking out, so we just pushed through. We kept driving. And what I said in that clip earlier was true. As we got onto the highway and adjusted to the rhythms of both vehicles, we did get a little more comfortable, like maybe 1%. And we focused on the things that we knew we could control, like when and how we'd need to charge with this now 5,000-pound trailer behind us. By late afternoon, we finally neared our first stop. Fort Stevens State Park, one of the country's largest public parks. It's 4,300 acres near Astoria that combines military history and modern recreation. Quite a fascinating combo.
This is day one. The tears are behind us. I was so overwhelmed. Oh my God. The rain is lifted, the clouds have parted. I think it's symbolic. Jeannie is doing a great job behind the wheel.
We were approaching our first campsite and our first back-in. And if you have towed before, you might suspect what's coming.
If I go this way, it's going to push the trailer.
If you go left, should go left.
What we were about to learn was the signature RV scoop, where you drive past your campsite, then turn the tow vehicle hard toward the site and slowly back up to scoop the trailer into the spot. It is so much harder than it sounds.
So you want me to...
Yep, come this way about 6 feet. Yeah. And then hard right, as hard as you can.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
That is our first campsite neighbor, whose name I didn't write down and shall therefore be known as Parking Angel. Before we get back to him, though, I have 3 things to tell you about the situation we found ourselves in. Number 1, most campgrounds have either back-in spots where you have to back your RV into position, or pull-through spots, where you pull in, you park, and then you pull out. No backing up required. All of our reservations were for back-in spots. Number 2, if you have never tried to back up a single axle trailer, let me tell you, it is way harder than it looks. And our gorgeous little Airstream, that I still love to this day, was squirrely. One slight overcorrection with a tow vehicle, and the trailer was off the pavement and starting to jackknife. And number 3, what we learned about RV life is that once you have parked your RV, it's a sport to sit around and watch other people try to park theirs. In other words, everyone was staring. Thankfully, our parking angel helped Jeannie nail her second attempt in record time.
Straight now, keep going. Okay, you're good, keep going.
5 minutes later, the Airstream was in place, and we were out laughing with our new friends who were sharing their own stories of learning to park an RV. And that night, Jeannie and I finally unclenched. We sipped on some whiskey, then fell asleep in a trailer that we had hitched and towed ourselves. We hadn't scratched the Airstream, we hadn't hit any kids on bikes in the campground, and we hadn't cried in many hours. Maybe we were winning? The next morning, fully caffeinated, we faced down our next big decision. How much do we actually try to bike this week? Because we'd all spent the last year training and prepping for this big ride, but we also felt so pummeled by all the new things that we were learning, our brains just felt like they were completely overwhelmed. But because Fort Stevens was so large, we decided to go explore for an hour on 2 wheels. That would turn out to be the longest bike ride of the entire week. A few hours later, we were showered, fed, and we hitched our Airstream Rivian combo and headed 55 miles south to Nehalem Bay State Park. This time, I was behind the wheel, and I felt, more confident, and we both thought, yesterday went fine, we've had some education, surely today will be easier.
Every little movement, it's like making it go psh, psh.
I completely understand.
So
I'm trying to
I
follow
think
what
we
you're
gotta go
saying.
straight forward again. I guess it's impossible. Can it not go straight back? Yesterday, was it going straight back?
Not really. And I
More
mean,
left?
when we were,
Straight or left?
this plant is in the way.
Am I straight
That's the
now?
only time. I just need you to direct me.
I'm gonna just go a little farther, and then I'm gonna pull out, go straight, and then I'm gonna reverse again.
Jeannie, no, can you?
Sorry, wrong way.
I'm gonna pull forward. Yeah, okay.
So yeah, that is us attempting to back into campsite E34 at Nehalem Bay. I'd pull forward, I'd crank the wheel, I'd reverse, and the trailer would go the wrong way. I'd pull forward again, crank it the other way, reverse. Again, wrong way. All the while, traffic is starting to pile up on the one-way road. Our stress was just going off the charts. Eventually, we gave up, pulled out, and did the loop of shame around the campground until we could start again. Jeannie and I were determined to be the ones to save ourselves this time. We struggled, we swore, we tried to block out all the stairs. I gotta say that driving a Rivian and towing an Airstream does not make it easy to go incognito. And 20 minutes into our second attempt, the trailer was in. Our neighbors burst into applause. They later said that they were trying so hard not to watch.
Oh my
We
god.
all have to learn, and it sucks.
It really is so...
It's so counterintuitive.
And this thing is really so sensitive. We discovered last night, like...
The shorter one. That's what we were told, yeah. And it's kind of, it's a loner.
You stole it! Those are awesome.
Just let anyone
We're all like, damn, like, what?
No, we don't know what the f we're doing.
That night we chatted with our 3 new friends, they shared their whiskey, and we talked late into the night, the stars winking on above us. The next morning we took another short ride to the beach, and then we were back on the road. And this therefore brings me to another thing that we learned. Most people with RVs, at least big ones, pick a campground. They go through the agony of parking, and then they literally park themselves. They stay for a week or 2. But we had planned our trip around the bike ride, which means we had reservations at a different site almost every night. And if you know anything about trying to camp during the summer on the West Coast, you know it's almost impossible to find open campgrounds at the last minute, especially during a gorgeous stretch of August weather. So we were back on the road and anxiously watching the Airstream, and I was anxiously watching the speedometer.
Really slow. Yep. And then you're gonna
slower,
take
slower.
just real slow. You just go really slow. You're gonna slow down, a little slower, little slower, just even slower than you're going. You're good. You're doing great.
Amazing. You're doing really
Good. Good job.
So if you were to listen to 48 hours of voice memos from our trip, and I have done that, you will discover that 70% of the words out of my mouth were some variation of slow down. 70% of the words out of Jeannie's mouth were some variation of am I okay on that side? And the remaining percentage was mostly profanity. But we got better, and you can actually hear it in the recordings. Our voices go from scared and upset to almost workmanlike. By day 3, we had a system and even running jokes. In other words, we were, if not pros, at least not so terrified at every turn. And that made it easier to take in the beauty of Cape Lookout State Park. An hour after leaving Nehalem Bay, we were weaving our little caravan through stands of spruce and hemlock trees. We were headed toward the campground, which is so close to the Pacific you can hear the ocean roar from some sites. It's probably one of the prettiest campgrounds I've ever seen. It's also one of 9 Oregon state parks with Rivian charging stations. And by this time, we'd driven maybe over 800 miles since leaving California, and our charging experiences had run the gamut. We'd charged without the Airstream at a Rivian waypoint in Astoria, the battery restoring as we ate enchiladas and tortilla chips at a local Mexican restaurant. We'd charged with the Airstream at a Rivian station tucked into an enormous parking lot, not daring to leave the truck for fear of, well, just for fear. But this was the first time we'd be able to charge overnight at a campground, to set up camp, move the truck, and wake up to a replenished battery. As we looped around, searching for a campsite, we felt that parking anxiety begin to build. But, by this point we had done some Googling. I think I Googled at one point, how do you help your partner park an RV? And we had some tricks up our sleeve. While Jeannie moved into position, I called her on the phone, no more trying to shout from a distance, and instead of saying right or left, we now knew to say driver's side or passenger side. And we had the scoop down. And that's when we went from parking rookies to the kind of people who now sat back and watched other people park. So we set up camp, went for a little walk to the beach, and as we were walking back, we saw this enormous RV attempt to back into a tiny spot, I think probably a 50-footer. It was huge. And there were 2 park rangers who were stuck. They were just waiting for this guy to finish his parking so they could drive by. So we stopped and struck up a conversation.
The thing too is this was built back in the 50s when everyone had trailers like that and little trucks. So that's how it was designed. So it's not really designed for these new big ones.
So that must be fun for you guys to see every day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Do you have
it's entertaining.
stories
Do you
of
make
people
bets?
getting stuck?
You bet each other.
Oh yeah.
So the longest I've ever sat here, and I've worked here for 20 years, is an hour and a half.
Oh my God, no.
Waiting for a guy because I got jacked up because all these people got lined up behind me. So I couldn't move.
Yeah.
Yep, I sat here for an hour and a half. I walked up. I said, sir, I think I could probably move you to a site that's like, nope.
Really? Oh no, he would.
Dug the heels in.
Yeah,
my
he's
gosh.
agendaed it. So if you're doing it in 10 or 15 minutes,
And I feel like we did it all by ourselves last night, no help. It still took a couple minutes, but
It's fine.
we got it. We had it.
10 minutes is better than 20.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's not bad.
As we walked away, the driver of the giant RV was still struggling, and now a woman who was acting as a spotter was breaking off branches that were getting crushed by this off-kilter maneuvering. And we felt such compassion for them and for ourselves, because at that moment I realized that the 20 minutes we'd held up traffic the day before was, in RV park terms, nothing. We were not ridiculous. We were just normal first-timers. And that night, for the first time all week, I think we truly relaxed.
In the front of the marshmallow, which is the whole point of it all.
The marshmallow is not the whole point of it, huh?
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not. It's an ecosystem. Each third is an important part.
Not cohesive. The marshmallow is the only part that counts.
We also were just really lucky. We had booked 2 nights at Cape Lookout. So we hiked, we biked a little bit. We let the truck charge, and we watched other people try to back in, and we only judged a little bit. And we thought, hey, we finally got it. 2 days later, we drove from Cape Lookout to Bay Point Landing in Coos Bay, Oregon, which is about 160 miles south. We backed into our spot, still not easy or perfect, but not a disaster. I got out of the truck, and I spotted something hanging off the Airstream. It turns out it was one of those stabilizers, and it had rattled loose. And a stabilizer is exactly that. There are these metal legs that keep the trailer from rocking or falling back when you're parked, so they're pretty important.
Oh, God.
What?
the second bolt had fallen out and the stabilizer was off completely.
What? Here's the bolt. It just fell out just now. I mean, you can't write this stuff.
I turned around and our camp neighbor, Nate, was already approaching. He had his wife, Jen, with him. They'd seen us holding a piece of the Airstream in our hand, and they just walked over with their toolkit. Because Nate has been RVing long enough to know that things just break all the time. So he pulled out his tools and we got to work.
The bolt hunting season.
Yeah.
It wants to stop.
I think Nate maybe spent an hour with us. We ID'd the size of the missing bolt, and then Jeannie and I ran to a local Ace Hardware to find a match. We returned, we jury-rigged the stabilizer back into position, and as we talked, we chatted about the Rivian and Airstreams and what kind of truck that Nate wanted next. And then we gave him all the beers in our cooler. I have not said enough about the Rivian, which I love. Before we left, the thing that I was most worried about was charging. I think that's a pretty standard worry, especially for something like this, a really ambitious trip. I'd pictured us stranded on the side of Highway 101 with a dead battery and a 20-foot trailer, but it was totally the opposite. While we faced so many other anxieties and so many other little hiccups that I have not included in this episode, we never actually faced range anxiety because the Rivian was built to tow. The truck actually calculates how much charge you need. It accounts for the weight of what you're towing, and it tells you where to stop, for how long, and how much you'll have left in the battery when you arrive. And it updates in real time based on things like elevation, speed, heat, and all the other factors that impact battery life.
It's interesting because it just recalibrated and is sending us to a charging station that's farther away. It's like it knew the battery was okay to go a little farther.
At full charge, the truck had a range of about 360 miles. With the Airstream attached, that number dropped to about 200 miles. And that might sound like a lot of lost range, but the Rivian Adventure Network stations along the coast are spaced with that in mind. So if anything, we were spoiled for choice when it came to our charging stations. The other unexpected thing that came up along our trip was that the truck and the Airstream combo turned us into what I have affectionately dubbed man bait.
I'm a car geek. On our hitch, it says, 5,000 pounds without a weight distribution hitch.
How's the truck?
Great.
That's
We love
kind
the
of
truck.
the,
Yeah,
the
it's
hero.
been the
Besides
hero.
the people, the truck is
So
the
great.
hero, for sure.
Before I bought my Tundra, I was on the wait list for the new GMC EV.
Yeah, it's a great, we do love the truck.
Yeah, our friends just bought one. They love it too. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Every RV park we stayed at, we'd catch men and some women doing these slow loops around our site, like they were casually walking their dog in a circle that somehow kept ending at our truck. And then they'd get closer and then they'd ask, how much can it tow? Is it fast? What's the range? Is it actually made in America? We'd explain that the charging was actually pretty easy, that the Rivian is made in Illinois. But truly, in most campgrounds, we were the first all-electric truck most people had seen towing a trailer. I think we may have single-handedly convinced half the West Coast to go electric. So if you're curious about more of the technical details, tune into our next episode where I get into the logistics of towing with an RV and interview Sarah Esslinger, who runs Rivian's Adventure Network. Back to Coos Bay. Because of the stabilizer issue, we decided not to continue south to Brookings like we'd planned. And fortunately, Bay Point had room for us to stay for 3 nights. Also, by this point, Chris and Betsy had returned from Chicago and wanted to be at the coast. So we got the campsite ready for 4, made an incredible dinner salad, and welcomed them with the world's biggest hugs. After a week of even the most friendly strangers, it was so nice to be with 2 of our dearest friends and to put our very minor traumas aside and make space for their very real grief. So that evening, we drove 7 miles south to Sunset Bay State Park for, appropriately, a sunset swim. We weren't hitching anything, we weren't watching a trailer back into a slot, and the truck, which is so wonderfully quiet, just glided us down a winding 2-lane road as West Coast by Coconut Records played. As we walked to the beach, I ogled this gorgeous park. Think really fine sand beach and this wide, calm bay surrounded by tree-covered cliffs. Easily the most scenic beach we'd seen so far. Betsy and Jeannie decided to stay on the sand, but Chris and I wanted to dunk. It was kind of a sunset baptism, so we waded into the bracing water, finally diving in when the water was up to our hips. It was so cold that we gasped for air for a couple of seconds, our teeth chattering, but then, as it does, the cold subsided and our breathing slowed. And we flipped onto our backs and floated as the sky oranged and purpled above us, and I thought, with a mixture of sadness and comfort, that this was the trip we were supposed to take. Three days later, and only a few hiccups later, we were back on the road, heading north to Eugene to return the Airstream, Chris and Betsy following along in their car.
Okay, we're 2 blocks away from dropping off our Airstream. Hopefully we don't have to back it into a spot.
Oh, no. I didn't even think of that.
I think we could just flat out refuse, or they could do it. That's one last test of what you learned over this last week, and then you get your Airstream license.
We pulled into the lot, and we did not have to back in. Jeannie made a big sweeping U-turn, slid in next to another trailer, and powered down the truck.
You made that whole entire thing look easy.
I'm not as scared anymore, but still,
You did great. You did amazing.
Chris, who was the only one from our group who actually knew how to tow, said we looked like we knew what we were doing. I don't think I realized how much I needed to hear that until she said it. We reluctantly said our goodbyes, returned to the truck, and 48 hours later, Jeannie, the Rivian, our barely used bikes, and I were back home in Sausalito. Now, I want to say that we felt so restored, but that would be a total lie. It was in no way a relaxing vacation, though it had relaxing moments within it for sure. But I felt empowered. I knew things I hadn't known before we left, like how to do the signature RV scoop and how to feather the brakes when you're towing something down a 6% grade. I knew how to direct my wife without saying watch out or slow down. I might have a ways to go in that one. And mostly I knew how to accept help when I really, really needed it. Now here's the cheesy part. At a time when our country feels so divided, it was miraculous to me the way that people showed up for us. We were staying in parks where it was clear that people around us didn't share our same political views, but everyone was just there to support one another and to relax in the trees. So thank you to our Fort Stevens anonymous angel who taught us how to park, and to Nate and Jen who rescued us with their toolbox, and all of the other friends we met along the way. And thank you especially to Chris and Betsy for showing up in the midst of terrible grief. And most of all, thank you to Jeannie, our driver, who, true to her sobbed out words on day one, really did work through it. Next week on Unpacked, we're doing something a little different, a bonus episode on the practical side of all of this, how Rivian's Adventure Network is built and what to know if you're thinking about towing with an RV. So if you are Rivian curious or just EV curious or RV curious, come back for round 2. In the show notes, you'll also find links to all the campgrounds we stayed in and the gear we used, including the Airstream Basecamp 20XE. If you're ready for more travel inspiration and intel like this, visit afar.com and be sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok. We are at Afar Media. If you enjoyed today's exploration, I hope you'll come back for more great stories and interviews. Subscribing always makes that easy, and be sure to rate and review the show on your favorite podcast platform. It helps other travelers find it. This has been Unpacked, a production of Afar Media. The podcast is produced by Aislyn Greene and Nikki Galteland. This podcast is part of the Airwave Media Podcast Network. Visit airwavemedia.com to listen and subscribe to their other fine shows like Culture Kids and the Explorers Podcast.